Is your vehicle in need of a quick oil change or tune-up before hitting the road this summer? Stop by Quick Lube and Tune, the home of the good guys at 610 South Wenatchee Avenue.
Hi, and welcome to today's show. We are going to be talking about Child Protective Services, but I was talking with our guest coming up in just a moment, Jennifer Thomason, and she was talking about how much larger it is than CPS, but that's how people know the organization, so that's what we'll call it today. I've been friends with Molly Steere. She'll be on the show later in another segment. I've been watching her posts about an organization or a program through CPS called Office Moms and Dads. And I was really interested in the program and having her here to talk about the volunteering that she does. And she's very humble about it. She's saying, no, have someone from the office. I'm just a volunteer. But volunteers are what make this program work. So we'll have her on later in the show to talk about Office Moms and Dads and her involvement. But first, we're here with Jennifer Thomason from CPS. And you had said earlier when we were talking before the show that it's much bigger than CPS. Explain what you mean by that.
So we're a government agency under DSHS. So we're called Children's Administration, but as of I think it's June or July, we're going to be under a whole different administration under the state. So it'll still be a state-ran facility. But yeah, people know it most as child protection, so CPS. But that's just one of the things they do. That's like the investigation piece. And then there's the child welfare piece, adoption piece, licensing. So there's a lot under that umbrella.
So today we'll be talking about placement and just the process. First of all, let's talk about what the process is for becoming a foster parent. And then later in the show, we'll get into what happens when a child's actually taken into custody and a little bit about the volunteering for the Office Moms and Dads program.
Sure.
So if someone's interested in becoming a foster parent, how do you usually hear from them first?
There's lots of different things. A lot of people look it up online if they're interested. We're always out in the community with Fostering Washington, which is they're contracted with the state to do our recruitment. So we can see, like a lot of our events, you'll see myself and a Fostering Washington person out there. We'll have a little booth or table, like at Make a Difference Day. And then some people just come into our office, some hear through friends, hear through the community, and then they just contact us either through Fostering Washington or through the DSHS website.
So you probably get people from all walks of life, all ages, some maybe even empty nesters or people who already have young children that want to grow their family or help someone in need in our community. So what is the first thing that a person has to do when interested in being a foster parent?
First step is either to contact Fostering Washington or to contact our licensor, who our licensor locally is Nora McGonigal. So just by contacting the Children's Administration Office or myself and just kind of gain that first step, and then you go and have orientation where Nora meets with the prospective foster parent and they kind of talk about what to expect, and then from there there's a training you need to do and then a home study, so like background checks, fingerprints, interviews, checking out your house to make sure it has all the safety regulations to meet policies. So
and what is that, what do you think that people get, what's the most overwhelming part of that you can help us feel underwhelmed in your explanation?
So I think that people feel overwhelmed by people coming into their home, into their lives, but it's really not that long of a process, and it can feel intrusive, but it's all because of policy and
protecting the
law,
child.
Protecting the child and protecting yourself as well, and making sure that you have everything that's needed. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions as to what is needed. A lot of people think, okay, well, I have to be really financially stable, I have to own my own home, I have to be married. That's not true. You can be single, you can be renting, you can be divorced, you can be living common law, same-sex partnerships. We're open to all of that. So that isn't a barrier, and some people think that is, but it actually isn't.
So probably the biggest barrier would be a record, having a criminal record.
Yeah, And there are some ways around some things. If it's a disqualifier and like you have a child abuse history, then obviously no.
Right.
But if there's certain crimes that can go through an appeal process with the state. So don't give up if you think, oh, this little thing from when I was 16 is gonna hold me back. Check into it first, and it may not.
So what about the cost? Is there any expense to someone interested in becoming a foster parent?
Cost to them?
Yes.
Not really. You have to have a bedroom in your house,
Right.
so there's that. But you do get a stipend from the state monthly to help with the cost of food, clothing, all the basic necessities of a child. And the state covers medical and dental, so that's all covered. So none of that's coming out of your pocket.
And what about the process of, so they've come into your office, they've inquired about it, perhaps they've gone through the interview. Does the training come last, or does it come as part of this information piece to make sure you're a good candidate?
Yeah, the training it depends on when you want to take it, but it has to be done in order to move forward. Some people take it at the very beginning and then move forward. So it depends on the pace that you're taking. If you take the training and don't want to move forward, you don't have to. It's not sign in blood. Yeah.
Right.
So, but it's a great way to get all the information about all the laws and regulations and what to expect. I go to the trainings and present on placement. It just kind of opens your eyes to what it actually is. And our main goal is to get kids home to their family. So we always want to make sure that foster parents understand that. A lot of them come in to adopt, and that's great. A lot of kids that we work with do end up going for adoption. But our main goal is to reunify with the parents, so that's something that we really need to make sure our foster parents are aware of, because it can be an emotional roller coaster because you get attached. They're sweet.
Well, I have a friend who is just in the very last stages of adopting, and she went into it wanting to adopt, she and her husband, and went through some turmoil and trials and tribulations with it. They were that couple that would take anyone at any time, and so this is a good fit. This is the child they'll adopt, and they went through all of that process, and it's a couple of years.
It depends.
Yes.
Every case is different. We did have a time where cases were going longer due to the appeals court, which is a whole other can of worms I don't want to get into. But sometimes it's short, sometimes it's not. Families have about 12 to 18 months to kind of rectify their parental deficiencies, and then at that time we'd have to file termination of parental rights. And so there is a timeliness to it, but sometimes based on what the parents are doing and laws and stuff, it can go longer, but that's not the norm. But there have been some cases that have, and I think I know who you're talking about, there are some cases that do go that long.
Well, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the actual process of receiving a child into custody and what happens. We'll come back with Jennifer Thomason from CPS.
Stay up to date with what's happening in North Central Washington. Go to the NCW Life community calendar at ncwlife.com.
Hi, we're back. We're talking with Jennifer Thomason from CPS about foster care. In the first segment, she was explaining the process for someone who might be interested in becoming a foster parent. And now I wanted to shed some light on the process of actually taking a child into custody and what that's like for the child and for Jennifer's office. So thanks again for being here. And let's talk about that. So when a child is taken into custody, what is that? I know every situation is different. It could be middle of the night, middle of the day, during the school, during winter break, whatever it is. But what is that process?
So there's two different scenarios. Either law enforcement does a PC, which is a pickup order, like let's say there's a drug raid or something like that. So they'll do that, and then they'll call us, and we step in at that point. Or else it's an investigation that's already happening, and the CPS investigator has gotten a pickup order from a judge based on their investigation findings to pick up that child. So sometimes we have a little bit more time and we know it's going to happen. Sometimes it's automatic. So once the CPS worker or law enforcement brings the child to the office, they come hang out at the office, and I'm the placement coordinator. So CPS comes to me and lets me know, hey, this is what we have. These children have been picked up. They give me as much information as possible. Because when I start calling my foster parents, I want to be honest, and I want it to be a good match.
So let me ask you this. So if it happens in the middle of the night, do you then go into the office, or there's somebody on call that receives the children?
Yeah, we have after-hours staff.
Okay.
So they just do the placement piece, and then we pick it up in the morning.
Okay.
But yeah, they do that in the
Because
evenings.
these things don't often happen at convenient hours, obviously.
Exactly.
Right. So then you go ahead with you were talking about now you are bringing the child in, it's planned or it's not, and what happens, I want to know what happens with the child.
So the child comes into our office, and the way it used to be is they come into our lunchroom, the staff lunchroom, and whoever had 5 minutes of their time, because our workers are very, very, very overworked and busy, whoever had time here and there to come in and hang out with that kid and just make sure that they're safe would
And
do
sometimes
that.
it's more than one child.
Yeah, so we had people coming in and out. So during this time of trauma, we were, adding trauma on top of it by adding all these different faces. And that's where the Office Moms and Dads program came up. So that started in Vancouver, and we kind of just copied that program and became part of that program.
How long has it been in place now?
Over a year now. So I started, I think I started about a year and a half ago. And it's just taken off, and it has changed the whole office dynamic, the whole process of placement. We have these volunteers come in and they hang out with the kids.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So you know that there's a child coming in for placement, and so then you start calling your volunteers and whoever can come.
Right. So I start calling my volunteers in the midst of calling my foster parents, because them coming in is freeing me up to be able to find them a placement. So they come in and they play board games, they feed them. We have a TV and DVD player in there now, and everything has been donated by the community. So we never had it. It's more of a friendly space now. We have like baby rockers and stuff like that. So we have all the things that we need, where before it wasn't like that. It was a more sterile environment. And then the kids get to be distracted by this person. They're not talking about what happened to them. They're not talking about the trauma. They're just hanging out and kind of being distracted and having a good time. So it ends up being really fun for the kids, and they kind of attach to that person. So then when we bring the foster parent in, the office parent and the foster parent can kind of team up, and then you can see your safe person likes this other safe person, so they're safe. So it makes that transition to the new foster home better.
Well, the other thing too, I'm guessing that sometimes kids are brought into foster care more than once.
Yes.
So unfortunately. So that would be, because your goal is to reconnect them with the parents, and that sometimes takes more than one effort.
Yeah.
So when you have that child in there again, in your office again, maybe it's not so dreaded. I mean, what happened at home, they know that they're going to this place that is fun and safe.
Yeah, that is true. And I think there is a little bit of a misconception of how kids come in, and that they're crying and they're distraught. Usually they aren't, because a lot of these kids are kids that have been traumatized, and they've been bouncing around, so they have attachment issues already. There are some that come in like that, and it's heartbreaking. But usually they just come in, they're pretty excited about playing and all these new toys, and this person that's just paying attention to them. They're like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. They love it. It's so much fun.
So the Office Moms and Dads program that we're talking about is moms and dads, or men and women. Not they may not be parents themselves, but they come in and they fill that role at your office all hours of the night?
No, so we usually only do it between 8 and 5, because after hours can fulfill that.
Oh, there's not as much going on in the office.
Right. So it's usually between 8 and 5. Sometimes if it goes past 5 and that office mom or dad wants to stay, we let them stay. We're like, yeah, absolutely, that'd be great. But yeah, it's usually just during the business hours that they come in.
And what have you seen in terms of the people that are coming in, that are the volunteers? We're going to talk with Molly Steere in just a moment. She's one of the volunteers. And I've watched her post about it. Very general. You were protecting the privacy of the children, but she's talked about just this the sense of, really being needed and filling that gap. So the people who come in, you're in need of volunteers?
Yeah, we're always in need of volunteers because it's an on-call. Like there's no commitment. You go through the hour-and-a-half of training and do the background check and references, and then I put them in a book, and if you're available, you're available. If you're not, you're not. So some people work and they'll do it during their lunch break.
Right.
There's all different kind of people. A lot of retirees, which is great because they have more time, but there are people that work and that can do it. Some stay-at-home moms can't do it because you cannot bring your children to the office while you have the other kids there. That's unfortunate. But yeah, a lot of different.
Makes sense, though.
Yeah, it does, absolutely.
Yeah,
but people from all walks of life have come in, and it's been really rewarding. I think we have a lot of people that are repeat people. Like, they love doing it. It's something that they're dedicated to, and it's pretty fantastic. We have a great bunch of volunteers right now.
And what is the feedback you get from them?
It's fulfilling. They really like it. There have been times, because these are big-hearted people, that they're like, I just don't get it. I've seen one cry because she's like, these are normal kids. They're just so delightful. There's nothing wrong with them. I'm like, I know. She's like, I don't get it. How could this happen? And but she comes back, and she presented at one of my trainings, and she explained that. Like, she was so sad, but she came back. She was making a difference for those kids, and really enjoyed that.
When we come back, we're going to talk with Molly Steere. We'll keep Jennifer, we'll keep you here, and talk more specifically from a volunteer's perspective about moms and dads through CPS. We'll be back in just a moment.
Are you wanting high-speed internet but don't have access to PUD fiber? Try Sky-Fi high-speed wireless internet from LocalTel. Call 888-8888 today.
Hi, we're back. We've been talking with Jennifer Thomason from CPS. She's given us a very specific view of foster care, what it takes to become a foster parent, but also what it's like for the kiddos who are taken into custody. That brings us to their program, Moms and Dads, Office Moms and Dads, a group of volunteers in our community, moms and dads. Maybe they don't have children at all, but they are volunteering for this program for the purpose of adding comfort and stability to the children who are brought into foster care. And so we've been talking with Jennifer about that, and now joining us is Molly Steere, and she is an Office Moms and Dads, moms volunteer.
Yes, I am.
So I first discovered this program with you sharing on Facebook, and as I said at the beginning of the show, you were saying, no, don't have me on, have Jennifer on, because you're a humble volunteer, but it is the volunteers that make this program. So I'm glad you're here. Thanks for coming on.
Of course.
So tell us about how you found out about the program.
I actually found out about it through a friend. We were in a small group through our church, and we were looking for ways that we could help out in the community through the church. And we met with Jennifer, and Jennifer told us about the Office Moms and Dads program, and I immediately knew that was something that I personally wanted to do.
Good fit for you.
Yes, and so I signed up for the next training class with her, and got started right away on that.
What was that training like? How involved was it?
It's only an hour and a half. It's pretty quick, and it's you don't have to follow through if you decide after the class that maybe this isn't for me. It was definitely for me. And so I just did the hour and a half class and then turned in information so they could do a background check and all that, and they let me know when I was cleared and ready to go.
So the training is, maybe shed us some more specific light on that, so helping you understand the predicament of the kids, but also Jennifer had said in the last segment that you don't talk about what just happened, I guess, unless they want to talk about it. So you trained to divert that? Okay.
Yeah, because you don't want to end up getting subpoenaed and having to testify in court. So if they do bring that stuff up, I tell the volunteers, grab a social worker.
How to not do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're just there to lighten their load and to make the kids feel safer and more comfortable.
Exactly. So while Jennifer and her team are doing all the heavy lifting, I'm literally playing board games and passing out snacks and just having a great time with them, bonding with the kids, and just giving them as much attention as I can. And so it's actually, I have the easy job. It's super fun.
So what is your takeaway from that? What is your interaction with the kids? You've done it several times now, so what's the range of what you see those kids coming in like, and how they feel once you've spent some time with them?
It varies greatly with each kid, and I've had the privilege of watching from babies to high schoolers, which has been really cool to get all different kids, and they all react differently. You know, some are very stoic, some are super open. As Jennifer mentioned, some do have bonding issues, and you immediately become mom to them because they attach to anyone, which is a little heartbreaking at times, but it's from a superficial level. A lot of times you wouldn't know that these kids have gone through a lot of trauma right away. Occasionally they'll say something that you're just like, oh, yes, you do know. Yeah. But they warm up so quickly, even if they're a little scared at first, and most of them are just so much fun. We just color and play, and it's awesome.
I love coloring. Those are the fun things, playing games and just letting them relax. So Jennifer, you had said that some people are volunteers who are parents and some aren't parents. I know you are a parent, Molly.
Yes.
So as a parent, what lessons have you gleaned from this volunteerism, that the appreciation, I guess, for your situation, but what have you learned? What's the big takeaway for you?
I think what's really been brought home to me is that as a community, we owe our children this care and this love, and to show them that. And that's why I'm so rabid about posting about this program, because I think it's so important to find enough volunteers, because these kids are resilient, and we always say that children are resilient, but I think that we owe them more than that compliment. It sounds cliche, but they really are our community's future, and we need to invest in them. And I think that's probably the most important thing that I've taken away from that, is that they need that in the moment of trauma. They need that care and that love, and to know that they're important.
When I was a kid growing up, there was a family a couple blocks up the street, and they were diapers to 16. There were 7 kids. And the mom had left, and there was a whole thing that went down for them to be discovered by CPS. And the 13-year-old was our babysitter, and sometimes she just kind of hung around a lot, and we took her in. And we didn't have her living with us very long, and it's very difficult. My mom was in her late 20s probably when we took her in, so that was a lot, but to this day, even though she only lived with us about 4 to 6 months, she is my sister, and we are very close, and she has been with us through thick and thin.
That's so cool.
But I thought about that because I thought about that first person that shows they care after everything blows up. And so I think about that you're that first person long before they even get placed. So if people want to find out about becoming a volunteer for Office Moms and Dads, what do they need to do? What are the steps they need to take?
Call me.
Call you?
Yeah, just call me and we'll get it going. I try to set up as many trainings as I can. So once I have enough people on a list, then I set it up and we get going.
So did we put I think we're going to put your phone number up, so that'll be how people reach you.
Yes.
And then, Molly, any parting words you want to say about this experience? And
just that it's such a wonderful program, and there's nothing lost if you go to the next training and decide if it's for you or not, because it's needed. We always need more volunteers, and it's so much fun.
And you may find that by going through the training, even if it's not for you, you might think of someone who it's a good fit for.
Exactly.
Perhaps.
Yes.
Or maybe you want to be a foster parent.
Maybe, there's that. We did talk about that. We covered that at the beginning of the show. So reach out to Jennifer. Go ahead and give your number out loud.
I don't have it with me. You can call the front desk at our office at 509-665-5300.
There you go, and then you can reach out to Jennifer. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing your information, and I hope we'll get some volunteers from this. We'll be back next time.
For all the latest news in North Central Washington, go to ncwlife.com or find us on Facebook. Got a news tip? Email us at news@ncwlife.com or call 888-2020.